Hello, and a warm welcome to this LinkedIn Masterclass webinar with me, Dave Holloway. We've got about 45 minutes together, and my intention is to go through LinkedIn, which possibly sounds a bit glib, but there's quite a lot to it. I shall cover in 40 to 45 minutes the sort of top overview of profile and strategy, and give you some ideas and some thoughts, some reasons why I think you should be using LinkedIn if you're not already using LinkedIn more, and if you are using LinkedIn, how you could be even using it even more effectively. And as I say, two sides to LinkedIn: profile and strategy, and I shall cover both of those having three strands within. The profile has getting found for what you want to get found for, giving value, and providing and proving your credibility, which equate to know, like, and trust, which I think is the basis of relationship and rapport building. And you can demonstrate that through your profile. And then from a strategy perspective, the strategy: find, connect, and engage. That's the simple way. Find your ideal client, connect with them in the right way, and then engage. And the aim being to have a conversation, get it offline, have a conversation, then start the sales process in whatever way that is for you. So how do I use LinkedIn? How do I work? I can work on a one-to-one basis. I have a 90-day coaching program where we go through the whole of profile and strategy over a 12-week period, and it's quite an in-depth look into LinkedIn. From the profile perspective, we spend time on developing the profile, building the foundations, allowing that know, like, and trust process to kick in as soon as and as effectively as possible. And then we'd also look at strategies, the best, most effective way for you, for your company, for your business to find, connect, and engage with those ideal clients. And that's a fully structured 90-day stroke 12-week program. I can also work with teams, sales teams. I can do ad hoc trainings, half-day, full-day trainings, and then work with normally a person on the back of the training. We then go through some specific things for them to relay back to the rest of the team. But also, having noticed, and the idea with the training, the coaching, the 90-day is very much that teach a man to fish and he can feed himself, and forevermore, as opposed to give a man a fish and he eats for a day. The only thing that we were finding is that it's absolutely great for people to have the tools and the knowledge and the wherewithal to be able to build an effective, solid profile, and then to know how best to use that effectively to gain more business and to have those conversations. But inevitably, the rest of the business can impede, and priorities change, and time constraints and time considerations change. So I now do a done for you service where I will connect. I will do the find and connect and the initial engagement with those ideal clients and target market, and do a lot of the other possibly more, you could say, mundane things of wishing happy birthdays, work anniversaries, but with an aim to then generate a conversation. But all that can be managed. And the idea then for the client, for you as the client, would be that you're just left with those conversations, warm leads, if you like, or even existing leads, because this is another big thing. People that have got thousands of connections. Are you one of those people with thousands of connections on LinkedIn? You rarely have a conversation with. You've done that initial connection and maybe a flurry of initial conversations, and then that's it. You never go back to them. So again, that's something that I can do through the done for you service, just reconnecting, if you like, re-engaging with those existing, that massive database that some people have got. You have people with an email database of several thousands or tens of thousands, and they've also got 5, 6, 7, 8,000 LinkedIn connections that they never converse with, other than that initial sort of engagement on the initial connection. So that's part of the done for you service. So I would just say, if anyone, if you're interested in finding out more about how I can help on a coaching individual basis or on a team training basis, or indeed if you're already, particularly if you're already using LinkedIn but want to use it on a much ramp the usage up, I suppose that's the thing. Ramp up the activity, because that's the done for you service, massively ramping up activity. If any of that's of interest, obviously, connect with me on LinkedIn. The LinkedIn profile is sitting there on the screen, and there will be some additional contact details at the end of the webinar. So contact me. Let's have a conversation and let's find out what we could do. Okay, so back to LinkedIn. What can we say about LinkedIn? It's a social media platform. I suppose it's fair to say it's social media. We'd like to be social on it. There are lots of social media platforms. There's no denying that. And in fact, time now messaging people. I don't know if you've ever had that issue where somebody messages you, but you're never sure whether they're going to use Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, text, phone, LinkedIn message. It's there's so many. What I've sort of noticed, I think, over the years, the different social medias have matured, and possibly also the initial idea behind how they may be used changes and morphs, matures as well over time. So they haven't all ended up being used the way today maybe that they were at the point of concept and the point of launch. LinkedIn, I think, of all of them, is still very much, it always was a business to business platform. That's how it was, that was the initial idea behind it. Reid Hoffman and some of his, a few of his friends in Silicon Valley back in 2003, I believe it was, around that time. It was really just a case of, look, if you want recommendations, if you want me to ask me for people I could recommend, don't keep asking me. I'll put all my contacts, my black book of contacts up online in the cloud, and you just go straight to the cloud to find out who I'd recommend in a particular way. And if you want me to, become involved in an online conversation or chat, then we can do. And that was sort of the basics behind LinkedIn. And I don't think it's changed dramatically from that over the years. Certainly the number of people using it has gone up dramatically. For a long time we were saying 500 million profiles. I think now it's nearer to 650 million profiles worldwide. So there's a huge database of people that have put lots of detail about them and their business and their work online for you to read and for you to come across and engage with. And for a long time, LinkedIn was very self-policing. There were, and I've seen instances where somebody might post something that other users considered was, for example, more Facebook than LinkedIn. And it was, you quite often see comments for people basically berating other users for posting non-business, non-LinkedIn things. That's changing, has changed recently. Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26 billion a few years ago. So clearly Microsoft could see massive value. And as a result of that, made some initial quite sweeping changes to the platform and the way it worked and the way it was set out and laid out in particular, which did cause some upset from quite a few users. And actually, I think brought the platform physically, the view of the screen, more into the Facebook realm and made it similar. And I think that was possibly their intention, was to maybe make it easier for Facebook users to use LinkedIn and whatever, and just encourage more people on, because at the end of the day, they're interested in a return on their $26 billion. So that was some massive changes, which caused some consternation. And certainly when I'm working with people, one of the things I will say is, we may well come up with some great strategies, some great ways for you to use LinkedIn specifically for you to, have conversations with your ideal clients or find them in a very leveraged way, for example. But always be ready for LinkedIn to change things, because it's almost, that's what they do. So be ready for it, accept the fact that it can happen, and then when it happens, you just find another way round, and another way of doing, or getting another way to get the result that you're after. That's the key, I think. So it's about being prepared to be flexible. But as I said, for me, LinkedIn is still closer to its original than maybe most, if not all, of the other various different sorts of social media. And I mean, I'd liken sort of Facebook market. I don't know an awful lot about Facebook marketing. LinkedIn is certainly where I focus my attention. People posting on using Facebook, I've taken it to a degree at least to be more of a sort of a scattergun, shotgun approach. And I know, having said that, there are ways of certainly focusing the metrics and the thing, within the algorithm searches within Facebook when you know what you're doing. And as I said, I'm not a Facebook person, but I've always thought of it more of as a sort of like a sweeping shotgun approach. Whereas LinkedIn can be very targeted, very sniper-like, if you know who your ideal client is. And I don't necessarily mean specifically by name, but if you've got a job area, a type of client, you can be very specific in the very targeted and individual in the actual conversation and the connection. And that's where I think LinkedIn massively differs. And because of I think Microsoft's purchase and ownership, the sort of the newsfeed homepage side of it for posts and articles is very similar to Facebook. So in actual fact, you've got sort of like a double-edged sword. You have still got that very targeted, laser targeted conversations that you can have, bypassing gatekeepers and the cold calling sort of ideas. Totally out the window with that. You've also got the opportunity, the ability to post things in a more of a sort of general marketing and viral content style. And it could well be that both would work for you, or that one would work better than the other. And that's part of what I look to sort of to work out and to see which sort of, which sits best and which is the best one to, for want of a better word, exploit for the benefit of your business. Which, at the end of the day is what it's all about. It's great to have conversations, great to have the connection, but ultimately we're looking to use it to get business, because that's sort of really what it's all about. Okay, so I mentioned sort of two sides to LinkedIn: profile and strategy, and within each side are three strands: getting found, and I'd add for what you want to get found for, giving value, and proving your credibility. As I said, the know, like, and trust, and with the strategy, find, connect, and engage with your ideal client, target audience, however you best describe it. So looking at at the screen now, I've got my profile's up, and from a perspective of being found for what you want to get found for, there's a combination of things that you can be doing quite easily, straightforward things, and yet it's surprising how many profiles you see of people that aren't doing these things. There's a banner at the top of the screen. Perfect opportunity to populate that banner field with something that's relative or relates to your company, whether that be the company logo. I think actually at this point, it occurs to me that I'm talking about company, but it's a personal profile. It's very much your personal profile. So in my case, I am the company I work for. It's part of me. It's what I do. It's not so much of an issue for some people in a more of a corporate setting. You might not want your actual company logo up there if it's your page and you're paying for it, and it's not part of the company offering, if you like. Maybe you don't want your company logo up there particularly. In which case, I'd say put something that's very relevant and personal to you. After all, it is your personal profile. So why not have something personal on the banner? But I think the underlying thing is, if the field is there, if the opportunity is there to put something on the page, then take the opportunity. Make use of what's being provided. I think that's the key, rather than leaving it as that blank blue LinkedIn default banner screen. And certainly, you know, for people that are promoting the company specifically, then yeah, corporate logo, or as I say, something that's specific to you, get it up there. And again, you know, it's then sort of, you know, where else could you be using it if you've got the, or where have you already got something, which may be the say the, you know, company logo from the website or wherever it is, so you get some consistency. And you know, we've got then the photo. Now I know I have to be fairly careful when I start talking about a professional and up-to-date profile photo, and maybe it's time for me to start looking at getting that one updated. I know that's coming up for a couple of years old, but the point is, you know, professional headshot. Have a professional headshot. I would suggest, I mean, mine's quite a formal professional headshot as well. I would certainly say, think it along the lines of, if you were going into a meeting, if you're going to meet clients, if you're doing something, you know, professionally, how would you turn up? How would you walk into the room? How would you want your potential clients to see you? That's sort of really what you're looking for with your profile picture. That's what you're looking to get across. Because, for example, if they've seen, you know, if you've connected and had those initial conversations on LinkedIn, and you then walk into the room, wouldn't it be sort of useful if they recognised you immediately based on the fact they've seen your LinkedIn photo? So, you know, maybe a good idea to keep it in that realm. So that's certainly what I suggest is, you know, how would you look to be seen when you walk into that meeting for the first time? There's the indication of what I would suggest your LinkedIn profile photo should look like. And again, once you've got that profile photo there, the question is, where else could you be using it? You know, I've got a banner up behind me that you can only just about see the tie on, but it's the same profile photo, which is on my business cards, which is on my emails, on the website. It's everywhere. So again, there's, you know, making use of doing something once and sort of you know, getting paid repeatedly, if you like. The sort of the passive income almost of basically generating, you know, that photo in the first place. So, you know, important things to be considering. And again, when I'm working with people, these are the sorts of things that we'll be covering. You know, I guarantee two things. One, that we will find ideal clients to connect and engage with. And secondly, I guarantee something unexpected will spin up out of one of our conversations. We just won't know what it is. But something will, because it always does, because you're covering things in, you know, in just it's just the unusual that pops up, and things that suddenly occur to people, and they go, if I'm doing this with my LinkedIn, again, the question generally is, well, where else could we be doing it? So again, something to bear in mind. It's those unusual things that pop up. So this is all about this isn't, well, is this about getting found? It's making it easy for people. That's partly it. You know, if there's no banner and there's no photo, does it make it less likely that they'll engage with you? You know, you've got my network page here, and if it will click through, which finally it does, you know, it's suggesting people for me to connect with. Now, if and again, you know, I won't mention names, but those with no photo showing, as opposed to those with a photo showing, if nothing else, they stand out more. And again, you know, when you get to the point of a meeting, if they recognize you when you walk in the room, it's that relationship building, know, like, and trust. They feel they know you already. You know, I've had people, absolutely have had people come up to me at networking events or trade shows, and they start the conversation almost leaving off from the previous one, even though we've never met. And I had an instance where somebody was convinced we'd met, and she kept asking, sort of suggesting different places, and I was really lost as to why she thought she knew me, until eventually she asked what I did. And I said, I work with people to unlock their LinkedIn potential. She went, oh yeah, LinkedIn, I've seen your LinkedIn profile. So all she'd seen was the photo, profile photo. But she felt she knew me, so she could walk up to me in a crowded room and say, hi, hello, how are you? No, like, and trust. In her head, in her mind, she knew me. We knew each other. Fantastic. all from a profile photo. Well, possibly from a few other bits and pieces, but predominantly that's what she recognised me from. And then on that theme of being found, again, it's just straightforward stuff. Your name. I have an issue, or had an issue, should I say. I was David professionally. Somebody once said to me that David was more professional. And, David is my sort of christened, baptized, given name. That's the name on my passport. But everyone who knows me as Dave. And it was another David that said to me, oh no, David is the professional version, if you like. So for a long time, everything to do with business and my profession was David. Until I picked up the phone one day and answered the phone, said, hello, Dave Holloway. And there was a slight pause, and the person on the other end just checking it. Said, oh, sorry, is it Dave or David? Because he'd only come across me professionally. So he checked in, and as he said it, I just thought, blimey, I've got to change it all, because I'm calling myself Dave Holloway on the phone. That's how I introduce myself. That's how I'm known by everyone who sort of knows me well. So if I'm going to be found on LinkedIn and you type Dave, if my name's up as David Holloway and you type Dave into LinkedIn to find me, I'm making it harder for you. You would, probably find me in the end, but it's just making it difficult. So from a name perspective, I would certainly say to people, have your LinkedIn profile name as the name that you are known by, as you call yourself. What do you call yourself when you're introducing yourself? And I would also then mention people with letters after their name. Maybe the headline profile page top their name is that the place for your designated letters for your qualifications? Again, how do you introduce yourself when you meet someone for the first time? And if you introduce yourself as doctor whatever, then fine, have doctor on there. If you add your PhD and your BSc and your MA and at the end of it, when you say your name, then fine, have them on there. Otherwise, you've got a whole experience section and the new about section that was the summary, where you can go into all that detail. And a final note, just on this again, this is just about getting found. This is just making it easy for people to find you. This is why I was conscious of only having 40 odd minutes on the webinar. I've got so much I could go through. So let me just sort of pick up the pace slightly. Think about your headline. I've put a lot in there. I've used nearly every one of the 120 characters that you get. But it's just, there's an initial bit of the unlocking LinkedIn's potential is about getting people's attention, but there's some more specific, almost search term related. I'm not sure how many people search for Firewalker, but that's something, again, gets attention, and I've had people connect with me, and as part of the conversation we have, and I'm asking why we connected or how they found me, the fact that we're a Firewalker, if nothing else, that could be something we've got in common. So that's the sort of thing you want to be thinking about with your headline. And that's something I can spend a whole call on with someone as part of the coaching program, where we brainstorm more, I would say more effective, but just more imaginative maybe, or creative ways of expressing what you do, so that part of the aim of that is when there's a whole page of people being suggested, for example. So you've got, the My Network page suggests suggests people for you to connect with. Does it help if you just stand out a little bit more because of what you say? And even when you're on your own profile page, anyone viewing my profile page will also get the list of people who also, these are people that have also viewed or been viewed by people viewing my profile. So again, you're being suggested all over the place. And I could look at that one and say, well, that lady's probably been done some training with one of the 3 Degrees team. It's very likely, just from the look of her profile. But again, I'm just picking people out. There's another one. So again, that's just about making it easy for people to find you. And the great thing with the headline is that because of the way you can word it, the way it pops up in searches, for example. So that's just a tiny bit on, I mean, that's, yeah, tip of the iceberg on being found for what you want to be found for. But I mentioned giving value. How do you give value? Why would you give value? You give value because if you give things to people, if you're abundant and generous to people, if you give something to someone, they tend to like you and appreciate you for doing it. But also, they're more likely to reciprocate as well. And why not just give people information? And so I'm happy to say, I've got my 9 key points to a powerful personal profile document and my top 10 reasons why people are not getting business from LinkedIn. Those documents are on my profile. You don't think you need to connect with me to be able to download those. I think the 9 points is for sale online somewhere for £10. You can have it on the profile. I'm happy for people, even if they're not going to work with me, to have it. But you never know. As a result of them downloading or checking out that document, they may not work with me, but they might recommend someone. It might not be right for them now, but it might be right for them later. The fact that I'm happily giving that document to people is not going to do any detriment to me, in my opinion. And if I'm coming from a more abundant place, then I would argue that you're more likely to get that reciprocation and that abundance in return, even if not now. So that's LinkedIn. There are numerous ways of uploading documents, video, and I've got video on there as well. Video testimonial, which is partly down the credibility route. So I touch on that. So you can upload documents to give value to the people that are checking you out and checking out your profile. And amongst those things, you can also upload video. So I've got video of me saying why I think people should be working with me, but I've also got video testimonial of someone who attended one of my workshops saying the benefits and what he got from the workshop and why he would recommend it. So that does my credibility a world of good. I can say in my about section that I run powerful workshops, or I run great workshops, but that's just me saying it. And why wouldn't I say that? I've got video of someone who's been in the workshop saying what they got from it. Far more powerful, and demonstrates the credibility from the third party perspective, which again, far more powerful. Because then I actually had somebody come into one of my workshops and I was struggling to work out most people that came in. I was running them on a regular basis for quite some time, and most of the people that came in, I had a good idea of where they came from. And one chap in particular, I had no idea how he'd found me, and I asked him and he wasn't sure. And then towards the end of the workshop, we were talking about credibility, talking about video, and I played a clip from the video, and this chap sat there and went, yeah, that's it. He'd seen the testimonial video, the person that gave the video posted it on their own Facebook feed, and this chap had seen it there. And he came into the workshop as a result of it. So, there was that sort of viral content. But that was, and he, off the back of someone else's recommendation, that was the credibility that I got. The other thing I would just mention on credibility, as I just slowly scroll down, the recommendation section, all these recommendations that people give you for your LinkedIn profile, it's not uncommon for people on their banners and websites, and as part of maybe proposals that they send out to give a list of testimonials that people have given. But at the end of the day, it's just, other than a video testimonial, as I've just previously alluded to, written testimonials are just the words, the quote from the person and maybe their name for the person that gave the recommendation. The beautiful thing with a LinkedIn recommendation is anyone coming onto my LinkedIn page, not only can they read the recommendation, but you've got the details of the person that gave the recommendation. And you can click on their profile and you can go through to their profile and you could message them or connect with them and have a conversation with them. Or if their contact details are up to date, you could call them. And you could talk to them about what it is that they've recommended me for on my profile page. And I'm not involved. So again, I'm getting third-party recommendation in effect. Massively powerful. And how does it not do my credibility any good when people are saying the things that they're saying about me? And as the person reading the profile page, you've got the ability to go and have a conversation with them to see if it backs up or they agree with, you know, what. And it's not just me making it up. Well, I can't put that on there anyway. That comes from them. I can ask them for the recommendation, but that comes from them. So powerful ways. And the thing then is, you know, you're then talking to people, you can be directing them to your LinkedIn profile. You know, you're at a networking event and you're having a conversation about something, and if you want more details, well, you know, let's connect on LinkedIn. I've actually got a lot more detail. Or you're connecting with them on LinkedIn, inviting them to sort of check your profile page out, knowing that you've got those recommendations, for example, on there, or that video testimonial on there. And if they look at that, that's doing the job for you. That's where it's powerful. And I think that's one that people overlook. They might think, oh, you know, you're at a network meeting, connect with me on LinkedIn. Oh, it just builds up my connection list. And some people think the credibility is in the number of connections you've got. Well, the credibility is more subtle than that. But it's there, and you can get it on there. And back to the point about what can you do with your profile, what can you do with things that we're doing with your LinkedIn, as I said with my my profile picture. I then was able to take all the workshop related testimonials and put them onto a separate PDF, which I could then send to people that were considering coming into my workshop. And I've done the same thing with keynote speaking. So whenever I speak at an event, I'll always make a point of saying to the host afterwards, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, let's connect. And if we do, I'll ask for a recommendation of the presentation of the keynote, because I can then use that and take that off of LinkedIn and use it elsewhere as well, because I've already got it there. But its power, its strength is in the fact that it's on my LinkedIn profile. And people have got the opportunity to then go off and talk to those people. So there's a really brief whip through of profile, that being found for what you want to get found for, giving value and providing or proving your credibility, know, like and trust. What a great way to start to get to people to understand more about your business. I've not even mentioned the about section or the experience section. So, you know, you can be very detailed and give people loads of information and reasons why not only should they have connected with you, but once they've connected with you, why it's worth having that conversation that you're after. Because that's the key. It's great to be online and it's great to be doing online stuff, but from the perspective of getting business, and it's the key is that conversation and the sales call, and then the sales process, and however that works for you, following on from that. But a great deal of things you could be doing just with the profile, just to set those foundations in place. An interesting thing with the headline, you know, quite often I've had people say to me, oh, well, you know, I do 2 or 3 different things, so should I have 2 or 3 different profiles? And my answer to that initially is absolutely not. And on a separate level, it's partly because LinkedIn's terms and conditions say you should only have 1 profile, but also, you know, as I say, it's a personal profile. And if you do 2 or 3 things, if you do different things in your life, in your business, well, why not mention it? You look at my profile page and so, yeah, my headline, unlocking LinkedIn's potential to get you more business. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's what I do with LinkedIn. I coach people. I'm a keynote speaker. I do firewalking, and I'm a property investor. Now, I've had people connect with me for various reasons. Some people say, when I ask, why did you connect? Well, because it says you're a keynote speaker, because it says you're a property investor. They focus on the thing that's of importance to them, depending on how they came across your profile. And it may well be they did a specific search, in which case they would have had search criteria. So people searching for property investor in Maidenhead, I'll come up. They don't then go on to say, but because you're also a keynote speaker, firewalker, and you work with LinkedIn, you're probably not a very good property investor. That never comes up. That's not the issue, because they can look through my profile and find out what I'm doing in property. And if there's documents there, and if there's recommendations there, they can find out even more and do some sort of further due diligence, if you like. But then have a conversation and find out from the conversation whether or not it's a good fit, or what it is, why it was that they connected, and if it was, a business opportunity, or whatever it may be. So absolutely, you use your headline to tell people all the different things that you do, and then you use your about section to expand on a degree of that, and then you've got your experience section to demonstrate what it is that, why you're good at what you do. Oodles of credibility there. Okay, so conscious of time, strategy, find, connect, and engage. How does that work? Well, find is using LinkedIn search capacity. You've got a search bar up there, and you can search for people, jobs, content. A lot of people, you mention LinkedIn, they go, oh yeah, I get jobs, it's a job thing, it's a CV, online CV. It can be that. You can use it as that, but it doesn't have to be that, and it can be so much more. It can be far more than that. But you can also search for content, companies, schools, and groups. So if you've got an ideal client, and again, this is part of what I was saying, working with people on a say a 90-day coaching program. The second part of it, if you like, is strategy based. So who are your ideal clients? Who are the people that you want to be having conversations with? How much do you know about them, or who they are, or what they are? And if you don't particularly, then we can invest some time working that out and working on that. But if you do know, is it job title? So can you search for them as a company director? Can you search for them as whatever it is, property manager or firewalker? It could be that the type. It could be that you know the company that you actually want to work with. I have a colleague of mine who wanted to deliver sales training, or felt he could deliver sales training for a particular company. So he searched their LinkedIn company page, and then discovered that they had I think it was a national sales training manager. It was a role he didn't know, or national sales training director. He didn't know the role existed. So had he not gone on their LinkedIn company page, he wouldn't have found that. But because the role was there, he got the name of the person. And from that was able to find their LinkedIn profile, then connect with them, and then point out what he could do or how he thought he could help, and ask for the conversation, which he duly got, and then delivered the sales training, because he actually got the mobile number of the national sales training director, who then asked him to call. So it wasn't a cold call. He didn't have to go via the receptionist, gatekeeper, the PA, whatever. He went straight to the person who, prior to finding him on LinkedIn, didn't even know the role existed, but was the very person that he needed to speak to. So you could, if you know the company you're looking to work with, use LinkedIn to find the specific name of the person that it is that you need to talk to in that company. Connect with them on LinkedIn and go through that route, rather than just ring the company up. I had a conversation with someone once who was looking to talk to HR directors in their local area, because they were running a short-term accommodation service, and was specifically targeting larger corporate employers who were bringing in employees from nationally, say, into the area for training courses, and would provide the short-term accommodation. And they actually said to me, I said, so what are you doing? And they said, well, we're trying to find the HR directors of these local corporate entities. What we could really do with is some sort of business directory that listed the name, or the job title, or the name, the company, and the phone number of the HR directors. And I just sort of laughed and said, what's something like LinkedIn, for example? And they just went, oh, blimey, yeah, that's what we need. Well, you've got it. You just need to work it in the right way. So that's how to find. That's finding. It's simply using the search bar, but being maybe a little bit more creative. And thinking about, it could be that your ideal clients' work may be found in certain LinkedIn groups. So you go into them first to find them. And it may be that you need to be posting content or some articles in order to get people to engage. And then once they engage with the article, you can then connect to them and engage on a more specific level. But it's just looking at the different ways of doing it. But you absolutely can find your ideal client or company just through a search. And then connect. I mentioned connect earlier, and I said connect in the right way. And this possibly will be the only time. There's no right or wrong way with any of this. People often have said to me, oh, I know I need to do more posts on LinkedIn. I know I need to do this or do that. You don't need to do any of it. There's no right or wrong, with the only exception of when I say connect in the right way, which is just about having the right message and not just hitting the button. So again, we're looking at my network as an example. I could just hit the connect button. If I wanted to connect with Matt, I could hit the connect button, and that LinkedIn will just automatically send him a connection request. What I could do is click on his profile, because once I've clicked on his profile, I've got the option to message him. It's actually going to take me through to Sales Navigator, but I could message Matt now with the reason why I'm looking to connect. I won't go through that now, but that's connecting in the right way. That's giving someone a reason. You get a far higher acceptance rate, in my experience, when there's a bit more to it. So that's connecting in the right way. That's using the messages. And that then runs through the whole of the conversation sequence, and whether that's messaging or follow-up messages. Again, that's somewhere where LinkedIn struggles. Keeping track of conversations. That was another reason, another thought behind the Done For You service. I can track the conversations. I will track that. So if, for example, you connect with someone and you send a message and they don't reply initially, it needs a follow-up. It may just need a second message, possibly a third message. I've had more engagement and more replies from people certainly on a second and often the third message than I ever did on the initial connection message. They've just accepted it and it's just gone into the ether, into the message log. But when you follow up, tying in or touching back to that connection, you're more likely to get a reply. If you follow up a third time, even more likely. And all right, sometimes it might be a no, not now, but at least you've established that. And if it's a no, not now, rather than just a no, it gives you the opportunity to go back at a later date. Tracking that on LinkedIn is pretty much impossible. But I'm happy to do that, and I can do that. So that again was part of the reason behind the Done For You service. It just makes that side of LinkedIn far more easier to manage, and then more effective and therefore more profitable, because you will start to get those conversations. And that is also sort of ties in that connect and engage, that ties in with the engagement as well. And as I said earlier, one of the issues with LinkedIn for a lot of people is they'll have thousands possibly of connections, but not constantly in conversation with them. Now, again, if you've got thousands of connections, you've not necessarily got the time or the availability to be messaging them constantly. And maybe that's not right for you, and that doesn't work for you. But you can be engaging in your posts or possibly articles. That may well work for you better. It may be that you can produce an article and then direct people to it. But again, what LinkedIn's not particularly good at is you can message people individually, you can message groups of people, but that possibly loses its impact. There are ways of sending out, if you've got, you might have an upcoming event that you want to tell certain connections about or remind them about. You've told them about it in your monthly newsletter maybe, or your email, and you just want to reinforce that with an individual message. And you'll be basically sending the same message to as many connections as you can. You could spend some time copy and pasting that. Again, that's something that I've looked to take away the pain of with the Done For You service, because I'm able to message and I'll do that for clients on their behalf and send those regular messages out as well. So yeah, connecting and engagement, that's where LinkedIn can get more time, and I wouldn't say the word consuming, but there is more time and effort involved, needs investing into that side of it. That being said, again, getting back to the find part of the strategy, if you know the company, or if you know the job title, or you know the type of person you're looking to connect with, once you've done the finding, connecting in the right way, the engagement doesn't have to be a long drawn out process. It doesn't want to be a long drawn out process particularly. Why should it be? Again, you're looking to get that phone conversation. Yeah, my colleague that found the national training manager, it was straight to the call. He explained why he'd connected, he explained what he could do. Within a couple of messages, the chap came back and said, right, here's my mobile number, give me a call, which he duly did. And then it was offline, which I think is what you're aiming for. And again, from a strategy perspective, that engagement is, LinkedIn will send you reminders, notifications of birthdays, job changes, a whole variety of things. It just gives you the opportunity, if you so wish, to let people know you're still about. It may be someone you've not spoken to or connected or engaged with for a very long time. What better way than just congratulating them on whether it's the birthday, job anniversary, or new role, but adding the little bit to it of, oh, by the way, do you fancy getting on a call, or should we catch up? It just leads you into it. And again, LinkedIn gives you a variety of ways of doing that. There are many strategies, and again, they vary from person to person, from company to company, depending on the amount of time you've got available, or the investment you can make in it. And again, part of the reason for the Done For You service, I'm happy to handle all of that side of things, reminding people that you're still around, reminding people that you're about, wishing them the congratulations, but then maybe just reminding them that it'd be worth having a call, having a chat. It may be that you've got some new parts of your business that you'd like to talk to them about, rather than just go straight in with a message of, oh, look, there's my new bit of my business. Congratulate them and ask them how things are, and generally they'll ask back, and when they ask back, you've been asked, so now you can tell them. And that again is something that I would cover on the training programs as well. So that's a whistle-stop tour, or whistle-stop whiz through profile strategy, LinkedIn, different things you could be doing, just trying to get your brain turning and thinking about maybe different things you could be doing. And if you're not doing some of them, what you could be doing, and if you are doing them, great. Could you be doing more? And ultimately, I suppose the bottom line is, how many conversations are you generating? Because that would be the measure. I think I've not really been keeping a massive track of time, so I'm thinking that's probably pretty much it. And as I say, it was sort of a whistle stop tour. There's some additional contact details. Now, you see, I'll whip straight to that screen without, which was a bit, there's something there on my LinkedIn profile. The connections. Clicking so quick, I clicked the wrong thing. Contact info. Very basic. Very, very, lots of people not taking advantage. Your LinkedIn profile, I can send that to people. Website, phone, email. You can have up to 3 web addresses. Other contact details. So all there for people to find on your LinkedIn profile. And all right, mobile number. I've got my office 24-hour office number on there, on the LinkedIn. There's the mobile number, email address, and LinkedIn there as well. If there was anything in this webinar that you've found particularly interesting, love for you to get in touch and let me know about it. If you're interested in finding out more about how we could work together on the 90-day coaching, teaching you to fish rather than just eat fish, happy to have a conversation around that. and let you know more about how that works. And obviously the Done For You service, if you're already using LinkedIn or would like to be using it even more to get conversations, if you really want to ramp up your activity, ramp up the number of conversations you're getting with either your existing connections or additional new connections that we can go out and make, again, more than happy to have conversations around that and discuss how we could be moving your business on even further with the use of LinkedIn. So thank you all very much for your time, attention, and participation. I have been and remain Dave Holloway, and look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks very much.